Hey guys, welcome back to briansguitarlessons.com. I'm Brian, and in today's video lesson we're going to be learning how to master open chord to bar chord transitions. So in order to fully understand this video, you have to already have an understanding of open chords, basic open chords such as D, A, E minor, and G. You also have to know how to play bar chords already. This isn't a video lesson on learning how to play bar chords, but you should already have a fairly good understanding of some of these chords. So if you know that already, then we can kind of begin transitioning between the two. I feel like this is one of the hardest roadblocks for beginner and intermediate guitar players, is transitioning from an open chord to a bar chord. It's not an easy thing to do. Especially when you're beginning learning these chords. So what I did is I took some simple chords such as D and another chord that's not so simple, which is a bar chord, and this one is F. And this is one of the hardest bar chords to play, and that's because right here you have the nut of the guitar, and the pressure is the hardest right here at the nut. So when you play that, it might sound a little plucky when you're first learning it. So one of the tricks is to make sure that you're rolling your index finger over to the side, sort of like I have, not too much, you don't want to be exaggerated, just a little bit, and then you want to begin placing your other fingers. It's sort of like, if you're familiar with an open chord E, it's sort of like that, but moved over one fret and then barring the first fret. And then we have an F. The next chord I went to is from an F. We're going to be going to a G. So we have this transition here to this transition here. It's not easy, so let me do that again. So we're on D here, and if we're moving to D, from D to F, one of the things we can do is sort of form an E chord, like you're familiar with playing an E, maybe using different fingers than what you're used to, and then placing our index finger here. So we have a D, kind of rearranging our fingers, and then playing an F. And then, from an F bar chord, we can move to a G. Now this requires rearranging all your fingers. So maybe we drop our ring finger all the way down to the bottom, and we throw these other two over here. So we have this to this. Anytime you're doing a chord change like this, it requires a massive amount of muscle memory. So what I suggest doing is practicing it over and over again, just these changes. It doesn't have to be these two open chord to bar chords, but just as long as you're making those transitions. So we have D to an F to a G, and from this G we're going to go to another bar chord, but this is a bar chord that's found on the 5th string rather than on the 6th string. This one is a 6th string bar chord. There's also bar chords that you can find on the 5th string, and the shape of them changes a little bit. It's not going to be the same pattern you'd find here like we were playing up here with the major. The major chords look a little different, and it requires barring 3 strings. It requires barring your D string, the G, and the B string. And then again, we're going to be barring with our index finger like that. So we get a chord like that. It's also the same chord as the open chord C, but I chose to use a bar chord here. I think the phrasing's a little bit nicer, so we have that. So our chords are D, moving to an F, moving to a G, and then moving to our bar chord C on the 5th string. This is a very challenging chord change because again, you have to rearrange all your fingers, slide your index over, drop it down, and then you have that. Just practice these over and over again, muscle memory. Okay, and then from here we're moving to another bar chord, and this one's going to be a minor bar chord, and this is a minor bar chord found on the 5th string. This is a D minor. And it's on the 5th string, and it looks very similar to the way we were playing the major chord on the 6th string. It's just moved up one string. So if you can think about sort of playing an A minor, if you're familiar with an A minor chord that's like this, rearranging your fingers and sliding all the way down to the 7th fret, and then barring the 5th fret like that. And then from there we move to another minor chord, and this minor chord is found on the 6th string. We move up one string, then we add our fingers, and and this is an A minor. So we're moving from a D minor on the 5th string to an A minor on the 6th string. And you might notice that it's a little different than the way I was playing F over here. The shape of it's a little different. We get rid of our middle finger for this one. Minor chords don't require that middle finger there. So we have this. So now our chords are D, moving to an F, moving to a G, to a C, but bar chord C on the 5th string, and then we're moving to a D minor, just 2 frets over, and then we're moving up to an A minor, 6th string, and then from A minor we're moving to an E minor. This is usually one of the first open chords most people learn, just because it only requires 2 fingers. It's pretty easy. And then our last chord we end on is actually 2 open chords. So we're going from E minor and then we resolve on an A. So from E minor to A. So here's all the chord changes we have. D, moving to an F. Remember that E shape, you want to keep that E shape and then add your index finger there. And then from an F, we're going to be moving over to a G. This requires rearranging all the fingers. This is a tough chord change. So we're here, and then we transition over to a G, and then we're moving down to a C, also a very tough chord change. I feel like anytime you're moving from a G to another chord, usually it requires rearranging all your fingers, because G is a different looking chord than most of the other open chords, or bar chords even. So we're moving from G, moving down to a C, and then moving over to a D minor, another bar chord. So D minor, remember it's like an A minor shape. So our A minor shape is there. Most people play it like this. You can rearrange your fingers here, slide it down where your ring and your pinky are on the 7th fret, and then bar the 5th fret. Then we have that. And then moving up to an A minor. So now we have that. So now remember, A minor is different than the shape we were playing with the F in the beginning, because F is a major chord, A minor is a minor chord as it indicates, and we lift our middle finger. We don't need that down. If you do place your middle finger down, you still have a bar chord, but it's not an A minor, it's an A. It's an A, but technically it's an A major, but most people just call it an A. So here we have an A. So moving from a D minor, but we're doing an A minor, so we don't need our middle finger there. Okay, and then we're moving to an E minor. That's a very far reach. So we're going from here, this shape, all the way to our E minor here, and then finally resolving on our A, just like that. So I feel like anytime you're learning a new technique, it might help to create a song out of it in a way. So what you might want to do is take the chords that you want to transition from, and instead of just playing them, which is fine, I mean, build up the muscle memory, do that by all means, but once you feel like you're good enough at that, see if you can play a rhythm to all those chords, and maybe you come up with like a little song. It doesn't have to be like anything, spectacular, but if it's something that helps you remember how to make these chord changes. So I'll show you what I did. So it goes like this. And that's just a little song that I created out of those open chord and bar chords. So I hope you found this video lesson helpful. And again, my name is Brian with briansguitarlessons.com, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks. Bye.